Deep in the Nevada desert, USA, lies Death City, a twisted town full of cobbled streets and supernatural architecture. In the center of the city, hundreds of stairs high, is DWMA, or Death Weapon Meister Academy, an elite school training both those who can transform into weapons and their wielders to be world elites, fighting for the betterment of mankind. This is the story of 3 girls at that school, Soul Eater not. Hello and welcome to Manga Mondays, the only show where I talk to you about interesting manga. Earlier this year, I took a trip to Dallas with my partner to get his top surgery and visit Texas. I planned on vlogging our time there, but both the surgery and the pandemic restrictions that had just began kept us mostly inside. Before I got rid of this footage, I decided to use some of it here, fitting since we're both big fans of Soul Eater. Depending on how this turns out, I might do the same thing in the future for other videos.
Good morning, gamers. It's 6 a.m. I'm in Florida, preparing to board to Texas. Pretty excited. Never this early to the airport. Usually I'm like cutting it close, so you know, plenty of time to grab a shitty coffee and get going.
And try we did. We walked around the whole airport a couple times. Most stuff was closed off or just closed for out of business. I don't know if it was because it was 6 a.m. or because the virus had just started and they were laying people off. But the only coffee place around was called Zaza's, Z-A-Z-A, and there was a huge line and it looked like crap anyways, so we just got nothing and suffered on an empty stomach for the plane ride and the way over. We lived far enough away to where we couldn't really eat before we got here, so we didn't have a choice. It was an overall pretty nauseating experience, but we were still pumped up to go to Texas, so it didn't matter. We were all cool until we got on the plane. Soul Eater is one of my favorite anime and manga. I have a strong connection to the handful of anime shows originally on Netflix like Soul Eater, Trigun, Samurai Champloo, Full Metal Alchemist. Back in like 2010 to 2014, that was about all we had unless you wanted to torrent or pay for a subscription somewhere else. I think we also had Attack on Titan and Ouran High School Host Club, but at the time those fan bases scared me off. Don't even get me started on Italia, Jesus Christ. Around when the anime was made available to me in 2011, a new manga spin-off was coming out called Soul Eater Not, which followed 3 girls who were part of the Not class at DWMA. That wasn't totally focused on fighting supernatural evils. Not stands for Normally Overcome Targets, while EAT, the other class, stands for Especially Advantaged Targets. So they're sort of the same. Again, just Not doesn't fight witches or monsters, they just fight everyday crime, I think. My friends and I read it at the time because it was more Soul Eater, which was great. But it was fine, kind of boring and girly. I didn't like it that much then, but 10 years later I came back to give it another try, and it was fun. I like it. Okay. Okay, just got back to the tiny house. This is it. Got a bed, fat kitchen, desk, bathroom. This is actually about the size of the house that I started recording the Crossing the Line podcast in, and had ended the vlog series in a while back. It was very small. I didn't even have bed sheets. Eating beans and rice every day. Good times. So once we got back to the Airbnb, we got our Dr. Peppers and tacos because both those things were everywhere here. They gave me my tomatoes and onions on the side for some reason with no utensils, so I was kind of unable to eat those. We got to the surgery place and did the whole pre-op thing, and that was fun. It seemed like a nice place. Then we went and got a car rental because we realized how much we were going to be spending on renting like Lyfts or Ubers, and so we wanted to get a truck, but we ended up just getting like a little small car because we couldn't get a huge joke checked Texas truck. What you need to know is Soul Eater Not is a moe, shoujo-like, girls do cute things genre, manga/anime. It takes place immediately before the story of Soul Eater and ran during the series' final arc in the manga, with many of the same characters making appearances. But action is not the main focus. It's about 3 girls in pretty normal high school life, unlike Soul Eater. I would consider it fan service, not just because of the ecchi, but because it gives a lot of the author's favorite characters stuff to do from a new perspective. It also gave Studio Bones the chance to do the anime again, years later, but in a different style. This was the moeification of the Soul Eater characters. It's especially obvious in the anime. All the characters become shoujo, cutesy teenage girl-focused versions of themselves. Even the really masculine characters become more soft. Look at Sid. They brought him back from the grave. This was originally going to be the focus of this episode, just how that shift was made. But I think Okubo maintains his style pretty much the same in the manga. The anime is still really well animated too, it's just different. I'll put a few comparisons up here. Alright, day 2 in Texas. This morning I dropped my SO over at surgery and was trying to kick around and find something to do. Something I noticed looking for breakfast is there's a lot of kolaches here. Pretty popular. I think they're like little bread buns with filling. Lots of Topo Chico around. I will share more pictures of that here, but I ended up picking one up. They had like a 2-liter thing at 7-Eleven, which is crazy to see, like a plastic 2-liter Topo Chico. I ended up settling on donuts because I see a lot of donut chains around, and I did find one. Put a picture of it up here, kind of like this greasy donut bag, but it rocked. I went in and it was just like an old dude in white with a thick accent and a donut display case, nothing else. So I went to pick my significant other back up, and when I walked in the door, I got temperature checked with a temperature gun. As I walked in the door, like just cold metal to my head as soon as I walked in the door. It was very scary. I thought I was about to get iced instantly, but it was fine. And then I went to go to the grocery store. I didn't really know what this grocery store was nearby. I went to go check it out, thinking it would just be like the normal local chain, but it ended up being a giant Asian market. And as I was approaching, I could tell because there was a karaoke machine outside with like Korean karaoke, which was really interesting. Yep, there it is. I was like, what the hell? So then I went inside, and sure enough, it was a lot of interesting stuff. Like, here's giant jackfruits, hot sweet potatoes, ready to eat, some interesting ramen selection, and this whole huge grocery store. Tons of drinks, very interesting. I ended up buying groceries there the rest of the trip. There are 2 stories going on in Not. The first is the journey of our main character, Tsugumi, the halberd. She needs to find purpose in her life so she can complete her weapon transformation. Her blade right now is just dull. Some people can't transform at all. She can transform, but she just has a dull blade, I guess. You can't really tell, like it looks sharp to me, but that's what they're going for. This directionlessness is metaphorical, but it's also literal because she can't decide on a Meister, something every weapon needs to be wielded, a partner. The proper Princess Anya and the busty airheaded Mimi both act as her Meister, and the trio of best friends go about school life. Also, Mimi is spelled meem, and I don't know if it's supposed to be meme. I'm going to have to assume it's Mimi. There's also a handsome older senpai, Akane, who says he will protect her and be her Meister if she can't decide. This is most of the story, just Tsugumi says she seeks to be in love with love and has to decide on a partner. Most of the characters work at a cafe together and they go on little small adventures in each chapter. There's even a baseball episode. There are a few other new side characters too, like Kim the Witch, who came to the good guy's school from the witch's side, and Eternal Feather, who's a clumsy sort of Neville Longbottom character. The former girl, Kim, is even in a gay relationship, lending more credit to the idea that sexual orientation is kind of part of Tsugumi's growth process as she decides on a partner. The other overall story, besides her deciding on her direction in life, is a witch seeking to attack TWMA. Another Gorgon sister like in the original. She has a scorpion tail hairdo and can hypnotize people with her poison. This can either be immediate and turn somebody into a zombie, or it can happen while they're sleeping and in certain circumstances, like with Mimi. The witch doesn't do too much during the books. It's only in the finale that she really attacks. It's not a huge focus. That's about it. Like I said, cute girls doing things is pretty apt, but they use a lot of time to build up the world of Soul Eater and introduce new areas more so and just kind of flesh out the world of Soul Eater with more rules and characters. It's a nice addition to the universe if you can deal with a more shoujo story. Ready to go out? It was our last day in Texas, so we popped our Topo Chicos and headed out. Hit the highways, stopped to check out a cool karate place we saw while we were driving in a slower part of town, and man, I got hit by a car. And they drove off, and it sucked. But thankfully, we never got charged for it. The people that we rented the car from didn't notice or didn't care. And whatever. We filled up on some gas at a place that let us order Whataburgers while we were pumping gas with a little button, which is pretty funny. And then went to the other gas station we were heading towards, which was Buc-ee's, which was like a 30-minute drive or whatever. And it was huge. There were like 100 pumps, 100 toilets, and it was basically the size of a Walmart, but it was all Texas-themed stuff. Like a small, like a... I don't know, like a damn Target or Walmart, but all Texas themed, and with Buc-ee's merchandise and other knickknacks. It was pretty funny. It was worth the trip. And then we went back to the airport and flew home. And that's it. That was my trip to Texas, and Soul Eater Not. If you're new to the channel and haven't already, please consider subscribing. You can find us on Twitter as well as here. We're also on Twitch Mondays and Thursday nights. I'll put that link up here. But if you're catching this right before I go to Colorado, as it releases, it'll be a couple more weeks till I'm back online. Again, just thanks for watching and have a nice night. Goodbye.